back. Bulls are back. Bulls are back. Bulls are back. Bulls are back.
What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to the CHGO Bulls Podcast. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Dave. Bow, bow. BAWL Sports. Bow. Will the Go Gottlieb, perfectly coiffed. The one and only. Will_Gottlieb is where you can find him. And Katie getting a much-deserved day off today. So, filling in, we got the other queen of the control, Sarah Bear. What's up, Sarah?
The Bulls are back.
The Bulls are back, Sarah.
Playoffs.
I don't know if you heard, but the Bulls are indeed back.
We'll be adding another trophy to our collection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that play-in trophy's on the way. Oh, can't wait.
Hang the new banners.
They got space.
Shout out to the coolness of the GOAT in his gear right now, though. So you do look like a model right now, man. Like a catalog model. Well done. J. Crew style.
Stop being so nice to me.
I can't help be myself there, Go. Got to be myself. Got to be me, which is awesome, by the way.
Always. Guys, we are back home. The Bulls are back home. 4-2 West Coast trip.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Kept pace with Orlando, who beat the Lakers last night. Still just 2 games back of that 8th seed.
Abolish the West.
That's right. Abolish the West.
Lakers stink.
Things are happening. Shout out everybody in Bulls Nation hanging out with us this afternoon. Hit that like button if you're hanging out with us on YouTube. There's a super chat if you're feeling generous today. Lots of fun stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about the tanking talk trend that's going around the NBA recently and a column from ESPN. But first, real quick, of course, reminder that CHGO Bulls is always brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use that promo code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gentlemen, let's dive into our first topic of the day, and it is What's Brewing, brought to you by Sam Adams. Hold on. Oh, looky here.
Oh,
looky
there
here.
it is. What did he find there?
Light beer just got better, y'all. Grab yourself some Sam Adams American Light. Available at local retailers around Chicago. All right, so, gentlemen, what is brewing? It is the rising star duo of one young Jacoby White and Joshua Giddey. I actually don't know. Is his birth certificate Joshua or is he just Josh?
I call him Joshua all the time. So.
You call him Joshua all the time?
Yeah, I do. So I just roll with that. So
sure. Okay. I'm going to go with that. I can't remember you calling him Joshua.
Oh, yeah. I definitely said it.
Okay. I believe you.
Joshua
James Giddey.
There you go.
JJ.
There you go. Guys, obviously, in this recent streak of games, the Bulls are now 8-2 over the last 10 games. Climbed one spot from 10th to 9th, flirting with climbing to 8th, and 2 chances to get from the play-in tournament to the big boy playoffs. And it is in large part to what Coby White and Josh Giddey have done. Not to take away from the complementary pieces. You know, we talked about how Jalen Smith, who had seemingly lost his spot in the front court rotation to Zach Collins, out of nowhere comes in last night after Collins played some ordinary minutes in the first half, never to be seen again. Jalen Smith has a huge game. Dalen Terry, the best three-point shooter in the NBA last night. But no denying that it is largely the production of Coby and Josh in this stretch of games. They are brewing.
It's been insane. It's something I'll get into tomorrow, probably a little deeper on these two guys, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about. But, I mean, just back-to-back player of the week, you know, for Coby White, which is incredible. The way he's scoring has been phenomenal. We talked about the free throw shooting, which is both improved for both of those guys, which has just been absolutely crazy. But Josh Giddey, man, over those 10 games, like, that is a stretch, ladies and gentlemen. That is what you call a stretch. And he is having incredible numbers that he's putting up in these last 10. Like, he's just been absolutely great for the Chicago Bulls in these games after this All-Star break. And they're clicking as a duo. And I would like to throw Modest in there also. as a guy that's finding his way within that duo. And, I kind of want to make them a trio. But the duo of this backcourt, I mean, the Bulls have something in these guys. And I think that's pretty undeniable. Whether Giddey comes down and his numbers kind of, chill and, plateau or anything like that, you still have Coby White, who has taken a star step, in my opinion. Going from the points that he was averaging before where he is now, 35 in 3 straight games, freaking insane. But there are like star points the way he's doing it, Matt. It's not just going on a hot streak. It's not just, hey, man, my 3-pointers are just killing everybody right now.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm doing it every single possible way to score. Inside, outside, free throw, mid-range, backing you down, faking you and fading away. 3-pointers from the Steph Curry range. Like, he's doing it from all over the floor, and it's just super impressive. And Josh Giddey just pushing the pace, constantly attacking and attacking and attacking, makes it easier for guys when they're either spread out or a guy like Modest who enjoys running the lane and getting easy layups. Like, yeah, they are really clicking and doing what the other one doesn't really do. Like, they are complementing each other is a perfect way, because Coby is better as a scorer and Josh is better as a facilitator. You don't have to ask that from either one of them now. They're both in their gifts right now.
And they're both able to help make each other better. I think that's the big thing that's maybe most encouraging about all this is like, it's all coming together for each of these guys. I think the reason that's happening is, one, they're playing really well and they are making real improvements, but two, it's like they're benefiting from the pace that the Bulls are playing.
Mm-hmm.
The Bulls are not in a situation where they have to like really break anybody down in the half court right now. They're not doing that. They're getting out in transition. They're putting pressure on the rim. They're beating teams down to their set defense after a make. We talked about last night with Coby, his ability to shoot threes in transition, and that pulls defenses out. Mm-hmm. Now he's got driving lanes and the Bulls are really spaced out. They're cutting. Everything is just clicking well for them. And it's interesting to see all this come together against good West Coast teams. And obviously, some of these teams have been missing some star players. Jokic was out last night. Sabonis was out the other night against the Kings. But like, in order for us to really buy into what we're seeing right now, you have to have an extended run where this is the case. Mm-hmm. And you got to get it done against the bad teams. You got to get it done against mediocre teams, and you got to get it done against the good teams. And it's got to be consistent. 10 games in March is like not going to convince, I think, anyone, although people are really buying in, that this is like who they are forever. I think guys like Coby's numbers are going to come down a little bit. Giddey's numbers are going to come down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so what do they look like then? And I think there's really only one way to find out, and that's continuing to let them run free and do what they're doing and finish out the season and then see if they can make a playoff run, because that's really where teams get exposed. And so if this is real, that will come out in the playoffs. And if it's not, that will come out in the playoffs too.
Great point.
That pace, and it's something that Billy talked about, back in training camp. Can we play fast? Can we play fast all season? Have the conditioning to do so. There was a little bit of a lull somewhere in the middle of the season, but the Bulls have picked the pace back up. Across the entire season, the Bulls are still third in the NBA in pace, possessions per 48 minutes. And in this last stretch of 10 games, when the Bulls have gone 8-2, they are fourth in the NBA in pace. But just, I think 1 point, they're at like 102 and a half, basically. Mm-hmm. So they're right there in this stretch of 10 games, essentially where they've been all season long as far as their pace of play offensively. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, it's like the 3 teams ahead of the Bulls in pace in this 10-game span where they've gone 8-2 are 3 of the worst teams in the league: Utah, Toronto, and Washington. People have talked all season about, like, just because you play faster, does it actually mean your offense will be better?
Sure.
Well, there are a lot of factors that go into that. Mm-hmm. Do you take care of the ball while playing quickly? And in this stretch of wins, the Bulls have been doing a better job of taking care of the ball. And at this point in the season, when other teams who don't play this fast every night are just tired and trying to get through to the finish line, some to the playoffs, some not, the Bulls are running these teams off the floor, and Coby and Josh are at the very epicenter of that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because those are the 2 guys who usually are going to have the ball in their hands. And if you look at their turnover numbers, they are minuscule. Mm-hmm. And they are not turning that ball over, but they are getting out on the break and they are cooking people. So they're finding their teammates, or Coby is creating one-on-one mismatches now, because Coby is doing it against anybody who either, let's say you come off a screen and he's got that big man on him, he's going to pull you out and he's going to work you. You got a little fella on you, he's going to take you inside, he's going to work you. Like, he's finding just a myriad of ways to do it. Like, even when in the Denver game, when they had Watson on him, that's a guy with length, that Coby might struggle against. No, Coby still found a way to put a move on that dude and score. So it's slowing down for him, and that's fun to see. And it's speeding up for Josh, and that works for him. So, fire and ice stuff, man.
Yeah, I think the complementary piece is a really important one too. And it makes you think more about like how they're building this team long term. And like, okay, let's just for a second assume that these are the two building blocks that you're doing everything around.
Let's do that.
It's like a delicate balance that they have to strike now. They can't just bring in another, like, as we've talked about over the years with DeMar, it's like incredible player, but he plays a certain style, and that's not anymore the style the Bulls want to play. Mm-hmm. So if you have an opportunity to bring in a star, but he's, a slow it down kind of player, they have to really consider that. And then I think you also have to be considering maybe you could go out and, like we saw with Kevin Huerter or with Zach Collins or Trey Jones, it's like maybe in this system they could elevate beyond what we've seen from them. So I think team building becomes a different question now when you're thinking about these two guys as your foundational pieces. Is like, who else complements them? What do you need around them? And do those guys fit into the style of play that the Bulls want to run? And it's the same thing with the draft. I'm seeing questions in the comments about Asa Newell and Derek Queen. It's like, I think the question that the Bulls are going to be asking themselves is like, can those guys run the way that they're trying to run? Yeah.
And if you're like you're saying, if you're saying that these are your two guys and these are your stars, then you start trimming the fat around you and really truly honing in on what fits those guys the best. Not kind of hedging your bet and saying, well, maybe he's off tonight, but this guy can save us, That's no. With a star, it's you deal with what they're doing no matter what. Period.
You need that from them every night.
Exactly. So you don't worry about hedging your bet because you're rolling with your stars. So if you're saying that that's the case, then the Bulls are going to start trimming that fat on his team, and some of these good guards that they have might be finding new homes simply because you already have that skill set in these two guys that you truly believe in, and they're going to have the money also to get paid, and you won't be able to keep everybody on this team. So, yeah, that's something to look at too going forward. And again, I continue to give Billy Donovan credit because this is all in 1 year that all of this is kind of flipped. New style of offense, new way of playing, and also credit to Coby and to Giddey because Coby has played next to numerous different kind of guards. And all of them have kind of needed the ball and needed the one-on-one. And Coby had to be spot-up shooter, something like that. Josh Giddey in OKC, I mean, you got SGA. He damn sure is going to have the basketball. So he can't really facilitate and do the things that he would like to do. Mm-hmm. This is a good match for two guys just doing the things that neither one, they can do them, but we know what they're great at, and they're allowed to be great playing with each other.
And to that point, Dave, their stats in this 10-game stretch speak directly to that, as far as Coby and Josh being complementary of one another, Coby being your primary 1A scoring option, and Giddey being not only a facilitator, but a guy who does a lot of different things. Sarah, I don't know if you were able to put some of those stats together for Coby and Josh in this 10-game stretch. But so Coby's averaging just over 30 a game on shooting splits of 50.7, 36.8, and 89.5. Doing some work with the boards, 3.6 assists. Giddey, 22, 10, and 10, essentially. 22, 10, and 9.5.
Insane. And
his shooting splits, 54.5, 50, 81. He's got a 50-50, 80 going the last 10 games. And something we've talked about, in addition, those free throw attempts. Josh Giddey used 5.8 free throw attempts per game in this stretch of 10 games. Coby White's is at 7.6 free throw attempts per game over his last 10. And on the season, just for reference, Coby's averaging 4 free throws per game on the season. Giddey 2.9.
Yeah.
So not only are they efficient from the floor, they're getting to the line at will, it seems. And it's like, oh, we got a 30-point scorer and a 20, 10, and 10 guy. And again, this is a 10-game sample size. But as a 10-game sample size, it looks really freaking good.
Just saying, man, a 50-50-80 is Steph Curry stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And from a guy like Josh Giddey in these last 10 games, this is just how comfortable he's been and how well the Chicago Bulls have been playing.
It's also like there's no way Josh Giddey is a 50% three-point shooter. But, could he be a 40% three-point shooter?
Yeah.
When he's left wide open.
Yeah.
That's what will turn him from somebody who gets played off the court in the playoffs to a guy that can be out there and be really impactful because now he's working around his limitations.
Yes.
Right. And, regression to the means, Giddey is not a career 50% three-point shooter, nor will he be.
What?
But, he's shooting 38.2% on the season compared to Coby White, who was shooting 36.4.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I think a lot of that has to do with Coby creating really difficult, off the dribble threes, and Josh Giddey capitalizing on his wide open looks.
Yeah.
But that's what he needs to do.
Right.
Yeah. That's the point. Is that if he's going to be off the ball so that Coby can give you 30, he needs to be able to be guarded out there, and he's doing that not only as a shooter, but now he's also attacking closeouts, driving, and getting the foul line, and that means you have to pay attention to him.
Right. Let's put a break there, and when we come back, we're going to take another quick glimpse at the chat we had with Tim McMahon of ESPN NBA coverage yesterday, talking about whether or not the Bulls are a team on their way up, and what to do if you're the NBA about all these teams steering down. That's coming up next. Hit the like button for crying out loud.
Sunny side.
Ooh, yes, sir.
Oh, it's the right side of the street.
Ooh.
Sunny side, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be on it. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality hydroponics in the city. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, winter, spring, and your fall. And your right now. Whatever weather you think this is right now in Chicago, they will elevate it. I promise you that. It's your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, Wrigleyville, River North, all the way out to the suburbs, Champaign, what up, South Beloit, and much, much more. And if you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that we know that you'll love, like them Good News, this guy, and Mindy's. Or if you're a pro, this guy. We've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. Expertly curated, ladies and gentlemen. It's my favorite word. Got to say it 2 times for you. We know that you'll love Cresco. We know that you'll get down with the FloraCal because they're incredible quality and consistent products. And you get all that at Sunnyside. You can visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. You heard me. Enter that promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only 21 and over or Illinois Med card holders.
You know who just used that HICHGO promo code a few minutes before we started today's show?
Oh, that would be I'm happy. Pow.
Order confirmation, y'all.
Told you. Good
Post
news.
show errands.
Yes.
Swinging through my Sunnyside.
Good news.
Great news.
Yeah.
Today's show also brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. New customers can now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 on any game, any player, whatever you like, and win or lose that $5 bet, you're getting that $150 in bonus bets either way. Just sign up with promo code CHGO365. Put $10 in your account when you sign up. Take half of that, put it on an NBA game. We got some fun NBA games on deck tonight. And then just watch $150 in bonus bets hit your account as soon as that bet settles.
Sound like a plan.
It's seriously that easy, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, when you are watching your hoops, Bet365 has an early payout offer. You are a winner if your team goes up by 20 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Just download that app. And again, don't forget that promo code CHGO365 when you sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. They are all-encompassingly available for you to use once they hit your bank account. Whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, must be 21 and older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling or referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Next thing on the agenda today, we played a little sneak peek in post-game last night, and then we dropped the full interview. It's available at CHGO Sports YouTube, the Bulls subsection, earlier today. In case you missed it and are planning to, we wanted to give another little tease to that when the one and only Tim and McMahon of the Hoop Collective podcast and more, author of the new Luka book, joined us on that Hooters Hot Wing hotline to talk the Luka book and some of his Bulls takes of what they've done recently. Here's a little segment of Tim talking about the Bulls and tanking in the NBA. Sarah, if you will.
Woo.
If you're the Bulls, do you think they bungled this because they should be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes and probably should be in the, whoever it be, Boozer or otherwise, in the 26 sweepstakes? Like, what do you make of this whole tanking situation the league is facing?
Well, one, it's absolutely an epidemic, and I'm all for trying to figure out solutions so teams aren't incentivized to be just absolutely awful, especially at this point of the season. So honestly, the NBA, the competition committee, they've got to figure this out. It's a terrible product. It's not fair to people who are buying tickets. But if you're running a team, like, yeah, if you're consistently mediocre or a little bit less, you have to bottom out. You can't just go from mediocre to great unless you're on the way up. If you're stuck there, you've got to bottom out so you can get the kind of talent that can let you rise. And the Bulls are just stuck in the middle, or, like the bottom part of the middle, like the butt of the NBA, if you look at it anatomically. So yeah, they've got to figure out a way to get high-end talent in there. And that's really the only way. And honestly, like the Vooch trade, Vooch he's a pretty good player. It was a bad trade because it didn't move the needle for them, and they gave up significant assets, obviously. Franz Wagner, that pick being really the primary one. And then you double down on it, and so you're like, it didn't move the needle, and you're doubling down on it by giving them another deal, and you just continue to be just stuck. And that, I think, is the most frustrating place for fans to be, because look, if you're bottoming out, they at least understand, hey, it ain't fun, but it's necessary, and they can look, okay, Cooper Flag, okay, this Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, the Edgecombe kid from Baylor, and you can at least generate some hope. You draft one of those guys, you've got some interest. The Bulls are a pretty bad, boring basketball team right now. And okay, I understand they've won some games recently. In the big picture, they're pretty bad and they're boring.
That was the one and only Tim Van McMahon joining us yesterday on that Hooters Hot Wing Hotline. You can watch the full interview. It's about 20 minutes. Great stuff on a lot of different topics. Just go find it as its own episode under that CHGO Bulls tag of the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. I also tweeted it up from our team account earlier today. You can find it there too. So guys, look, I went back earlier this afternoon and looked at some of the comments. It wasn't a live episode, but some of the comments underneath. And some people were asking, like, yo, when is this interview from? Because people thought that was Tim McMahon with some pretty outdated takes on where the Bulls are with the Levine trade and the team that has won 8 of their last 10.
Yeah.
No, we recorded that yesterday afternoon, about an hour before pregame. That is still the national perspective that people who cover this league see with our beloved Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
And that's not me trying to be a downer. That's just me saying that is how most people across the NBA still view this Bulls team.
Yeah.
Maybe not most, but certainly Tim McMahon is somebody whose NBA takes I tend to agree with. And he is sitting here saying, yeah, well, they've won some games together recently. I know that. In the grand scheme of things, they're still a mediocre team going nowhere. You might disagree with that. You're allowed to disagree with that. But it begs the question, he said that thing about, like, if you're consistently mediocre or a little less than mediocre, you have to bottom out. You can't go from mediocre to great unless you're on the way up. And I think that's where maybe Bulls fans differ in opinion. Do you see the Bulls as a team that's in the middle and still stuck in the middle, or a team that was in the middle with old pieces but is now still in the middle but with younger, more exciting pieces?
Yeah.
And because of this string of wins, a team that's on their way up?
I think my feelings haven't truly changed about what I felt about this team. I like that they found their way. I'm enjoying watching the brand of basketball they're playing. The IQ of the team has definitely been raised, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. But I've also saw the first half of the season, and I saw last year, and I saw the previous years. So watching a 10, 12 game stretch that the Bulls have had, which has been incredible, by the way, but watching it and changing all of my view because of those 10 or 12 games. I'm not there yet. I'm definitely enjoying this. I definitely like watching the Bulls now. Like, it is not a chore to sit there and watch this team do really good basketball stuff on the floor, and to do it when they don't have a guy like Ayo, when they don't have a guy like Lonzo, where Trey Jones is still out, where we've seen Josh Giddey go out, and they still, kind of do the same thing as far as how the way they've been playing. It feels like they are finding themselves, and that is great to see. But I still don't feel like that themselves have totally been found. I still think the team, when the league catches up, because that's always what happens when you come out as a surprise, the league catches up with you, schemes are made for you, and teams will take you a little bit differently. The best example I could give you is a team like the Orlando Magic. When the Orlando Magic showed up and they got all those pieces together and they started, destroying teams and looking amazing, nobody was really ready and prepared for that. So when they came into that next season and teams had time to scheme and figure it out a little bit what they like doing, oh, this team can't shoot. Okay, got it. We'll do a little something different this time, and you see their struggles and what's happening. The Knicks are kind of like that as well. To me, they're still a top 4 team, obviously, in the NBA, but this is a team that was a top 2 team when it first was like, oh my God, when Jalen Brunson was having that year, it was like, damn, oh my goodness. Teams take a year, it catches up. We'll see what you look like after that. And they look okay, but they're hurt, you know what I mean? And, Tibbs is doing Tibbs stuff. So, again, I like what I'm seeing. I'm not here to say that what the Bulls are doing is bad, or I'm just like, oh, this is the worst. Anything like that. But I still don't have that true belief that this is an on the way up kind of situation. I think it's going in the right area, but I'm not ready to say they're on the way. I still feel like it's a team that's in the middle. So we'll need some more games under their belt for me to change that opinion. And if that happens, man, that opinion will damn sure change.
I think that's the safe way to, it's the correct way to look at it, right? It's like, you don't just like buy into something just because it happened one time. It's like when we have a bunch of information about some of these players and they're continuing to play at that level for the first 50 games of the year, and then all of a sudden something changes and they're playing way above whatever they've done in their career. It's like, yeah, you like to see it, and it's new information that you have to take in and like consider, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's who they are now. And I think that's what's going to be exciting about these final 10 games of the season and whatever postseason games that they get into is more information in meaningful basketball settings. Because that's really the difference between playing the Nets and the Raptors and the Sixers and the Kings without Sabonis and, playing the Cavs in the first round, who's the best team in the Eastern Conference. Like that's a real difference. And it's what you need to see in order to really understand how good these players are. Do I think that the Bulls have more upside with this group than they did last year? Absolutely. They're a younger group. They're playing well, and it's convincing. But that doesn't necessarily mean just because they're young that they're going to turn into superstars. Mm-hmm. I think the worst thing that can happen is you get really excited about this team and you get satisfied with where you are. You stop adding to it, and you say, we've already got our 2 superstars. We don't need to add any more. And I think that would be a mistake. You need to continue to build this thing, and you can do it intentionally. You don't have to like throw all your draft picks at Domantas Sabonis or something like that. Right. Like you want to continue on the track that you're going. Because at the end of the day, like whether they got the first pick in the draft this year or not, they were always going to need Coby and Giddey to take steps forward because those are guys that are on the team now. I think it's too late to move Coby. Like he's not extendable for any team that would be trading for him. I think it makes sense to keep him and try to get him on the best contract possible and try to build around him. Same for Giddey. Like he's playing too well now to let him go for nothing. And you need more information about, can he be a foundational piece? So yeah, these guys needed to step up and play better if this team had any chance to get to another level. We don't know if that's true or not. You'd feel a lot better about it if they had, Cooper Flagg going into next year. Yeah. And maybe that's still possible. But I do think that just inherently by them being younger, it's a double-edged sword, right? Of you can either get super excited and think that just because they're young, they're going to get better and better every day. Or you can, recognize that just because they're young doesn't mean that they're going to be stars. They're just playing. Maybe this is who they are now. Or maybe it's like within some standard deviation of that.
Mm-hmm.
We got to take another break there. When we come back, still plenty more to get to. Again, shout out to Tim McMahon for joining us yesterday. You can watch that full 20-minute interview on the CHGO Bulls subheading of our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Covered a lot of ground. We got his thoughts on the Zach trade, his process of writing that Luka book that dropped, by the way, today. Go order yourself a copy. I just did earlier today. And when we come back, we will talk about this tanking scenario that Tim McMahon was talking about just a minute ago. Hit that like button while we share some products and services. Ray! Today's show brought to you by Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Get more power during Dodge Performance Days at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now's your chance to score a great deal on your next vehicle. So head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory on new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Right now, lease the new 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona for only $259 a month or get 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, since they prioritize affordability, you know you won't overpay for the vehicle you need. And with that raised price promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons, no hidden fees, none of that ever. The price you see, the price you pay. It is that simple. Go check out our partner today. Shop one of Chicago's largest inventories. Find the right new vehicle for you, then drive home happy. The team at Ray CDJR is the only one we recommend. So don't miss out on that Dodge Performance Days going on all months long. Look for new low leases and financing rates on the new 2024 Dodge Charger. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online, raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
Would you take a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram?
Yes.
That is the correct answer. That is right.
Yes, I would.
Sarah, what time is it?
Game time. Who?
Out of the rotation for months.
Yeah,
She's still
man.
ready.
Don't matter. Give me the ball, coach.
It's that last dance.
That's
Stays ready.
Still thinking about it.
That's right. Shout out to the Last Dance. Yes. Game time, ladies and gentlemen. They are the best. They are awesome. And we rock with them. Why? Because they're cool, but also because they got game time picks. Oh, it makes getting tickets easier than ever to see your favorite teams play live. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. How do they do that? Curation, ladies and gentlemen. It makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theaters, one-woman shows, two-man shows, whatever. Save if you get on Game Time.
3 gerbil shows?
Oh, be there. Sold out. Not on Game Time. All in pricing. Guess what? They got it. Lowest price guarantee. Yeah. Game Time ticket coverage. Oh, you mean the thing that is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry? Oh, they got that. But also, Matt Peck, big day favorites. Seat views. Where are we sitting? I want to sit outside. Matt wants to stretch the legs and put up the dogs. Also, he needs to know where's the beer? Where is it at? Is it going to be vendors giving beer, or do I have to get up and go get some? Hey, bathroom,
beer man,
exits, need to know these things. What is happening in your stadium and or theater and or amphitheater? He needs to know all of it, ladies and gentlemen, just like myself. Seat views. Need to know. We need to know. It's the best. So take that guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase.
Terms apply.
I said CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Because we're going to Gottlieb. What time is it?
Game time. Who?
Just a smooth 2-point jumper. Just swap. Woo! That's all it is.
Shout out to Zeke K, who threw us a 999 super chat in the comments. Appreciate you, Zeke.
Appreciate you.
Who also asked the question. Why do you
I think this was followed up. I don't think he wrote it.
Oh, okay.
This is, I think, what he meant with also sending us $10.
Why do you believe turnover in front offices isn't as high as it is for players and coaches? Tanking serves as a form of job security. That is a good point, and one that Goat has brought up before. Like, the Bulls like, okay, well, AK, we didn't get this quite right with the Zach Vooch DeMar, combo. We'll try again. And if the people who are, ownership, the bosses of front offices, give them their faith to try again, then that is a longer leash.
Yes.
We aren't quite sure on the current extension, right, of AK and or Eversley Goat. We know that they all got one when the Bulls made the playoffs. AK, Eversley, and Billy Donovan all got extensions. Secret ones that became less secret after some amount of time. But I think, somebody needs to fall on a sword. And oftentimes it's a player like getting traded and they fall on the sword. They request to be traded, or coaches are way more frequent, because I think the higher you go up on that ladder of removing someone and replacing them with someone new, the more everything has to change. Well, it's like it's upsetting the balance of whatever your organization is trying to be.
It's like, look at the common denominator. If a team is struggling and the first one to go is the coach, and then you fire a coach and you bring in a new coach and the team is still struggling, now you have to figure out, well, is it the players or is it the general manager? Correct. And I think typically, firing coaches is like the first domino of now the finger starts getting pointed up a little bit higher. And so it's a form of protection against that. If you were a front office, to have your coach be the one in position, even if the team isn't performing well.
Appreciate the super chat, Zeke. It's a good question. I would not say that anybody in the Bulls front office is on the hot seat this offseason.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be, but they
different story.
Different story. All right. Real quick before we dive into the next topic, wanted to remind everybody that this coming Monday, a week from last night, we are doing a live watch party event at the Hooters downtown Chicago location, 660 North Wells Street. We're going to do an extended hour-long live pregame show from Hooters on Wells. Come hang out with us. It's a 7 p.m. tip. Bulls taking on OKC, the number 1 seed in the NBA. Yeah. Talk about a big test for these hot young Bulls. Come hang out with us. You don't need to buy a ticket. Don't need to RSVP. We will be there for a live pregame starting at 6 p.m. Central. Come hang out with us. Talk hoops. Get some delicious wings and some delicious beverages on some great deals offered by our friends at Hooters. $6
I will most
margs.
likely be there too.
Sarah Bears, hanging out.
Yeah. First time at Hooters, so it's
all
a big
the
day
cool
for me.
kids will be there.
Really?
So first time at Hooters.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Let's do this.
First time for everything. Y'all come hang out with us.
And
It'll
it will
be a
be
good
Monday.
time.
It will be glorious.
Yes.
That is a game.
That is a game.
It's turned into a game, honestly, because the Bulls playing well. You're playing OKC. That's the test kind of game.
That's exactly right.
Oh, you think you're cool, OKC? You're the 1 seed? You got 50 whatever wins? We're the Bulls. We're the Bulls.
Damn right.
We are back.
Yeah. In your face.
Emma said we are back.
You heard her. The hats were thrown.
All right, guys. So part of our conversation with McMahon of like this tanking problem in the NBA, a lot of people across the NBA national media landscape have started to talk about this, write about this a lot, especially as we've gotten into these dog days of February and March, when we've seen a lot of teams take some bold swings that they're hoping they get away with as far as what teams are doing to not win, but do everything in their power to lose.
It's been creative.
And head closer to that Cooper Flag sweepstakes. In case you missed it, there was a co-authored piece on ESPN.com yesterday from Tim Bontemps. Oftentimes you will hear him alongside McMahon on that Hoop Collective pod, and Kevin Pelton. The headline was, "Can the NBA fix tanking and why it's worse this season, +5 solutions?" And they packed a lot in here. I wanted to start the conversation with an interesting quote that they had from the NBA VP of Strategy and Analytics, Evan Wash, when he was asked about where the NBA is now with the draft, how it goes, and if it could change. Said, philosophically, thank you, Sarah Bear, "I'm not aware of anyone making a serious push to eliminate our current philosophy of the draft, which is to award top picks to teams that are most in need of talent. That is a fundamental tenet of our current draft system." Because people have talked about, do you flatten the lottery odds even more to de-incentivize tanking? After they flattened them in 2019, I think it was, to each of the top 3 seeds getting each a 14% chance at that number 1 pick, and then the flattening. We've seen teams jump up. Obviously, the Atlanta Hawks, a very recent example, last season's lottery. But I mean, that to me sounds like somebody who is holding a role, NBA VP, strategy analytics, saying, I hear the question, I understand the question. no one's coming to me and says we need to change this again, and we need to change it now.
And I think, fundamentally that is the right thing to do, is to have a system that tries to not, get teams stuck at the bottom. Because that's really like the worst place to be. And I think the system that you're in right now has sort of changed that to now the middle being the worst place to be, because at least if you're at the bottom, you could get that franchise changing player. Because that's really what it's about. You don't want to have like these bad teams be stuck at the bottom of the league for years and years and years. You want there to be like a natural life cycle of things where you've got, a good team, good players, and you're competing at a high level. And then maybe you get too expensive or guys leave or you get too old, and then you got to start over and you got to go back down to the bottom and rebuild. And if you go back down to the bottom, you can start to build up again. But then you have teams obviously like the Bulls who have been kind of on the treadmill of mediocrity year after year, not really being bad enough to benefit from being bad and not being competitive enough to get into the playoffs. And I think that's another thing that we need to talk about, is just like the bar has been lowered so much now that like a 10-game stretch of the Bulls playing well is like the greatest thing ever. It's like, let's see them get into the playoffs first, which is lowering the bar, to begin with. But I think the idea of like teams throwing their seasons, trying to be bad in order to get to the top of the draft, because that's where the star players are typically drafted, that's a byproduct of the system that we're in. So how do you maybe change that? Because ultimately, like, I do think that there's probably not a good reason to justify intentional losing in professional sports. Like you probably should find a way to avoid that if you can. There's going to be bad teams in basketball. There's bad teams in every sport every year, because that's how it goes. It's a zero-sum game. You win or you lose. But if you can find a system that still rewards the bad teams and helps them build while also mitigating, this egregious tanking towards the bottom. I mean, Walker Kessler took 8 threes the other night against the Cavs. Like, he's a 70% field goal shooter and he took 8 threes and made one of them. So that's just like not in the spirit of competitiveness. And that's what we're talking about here. So I don't know. There's been a lot of solutions that have been thrown around. We could talk about a couple of them from this article, but I think ultimately the question is like, how do you solve this without disrupting the ability for a bad team to get a good player? Because that's really what it's about.
Yeah. For your first point, it's like I keep saying, when you're in the desert for so long and somebody gives you some water and you're like, what is this, Fiji water? Like, this is like the greatest from the, Appalachian Mountains. Like, this is the greatest water in the history of water.
Bulls fans have drank gallons of Kool-Aid over the last week.
Yeah, and it's like wine.
Delicious Kool-Aid.
But it tastes like wine because they haven't had anything to drink in quite a long time. And that's really what it is, why the bar is so low and, stepping over it feels like jumping. You know what I mean? But you're really stepping over it. So that's kind of how they feel and why they kind of feel that way. There's no perfect system when it comes to the draft. I just feel like you do what's best for whatever organization you're running. As far as football, basketball, baseball, you do what fits best. In football, obviously the losing team fits best. It works that way because it's a game that is played every week and you're paid every week. Like, that's how they kind of, eliminate taking. It's like, dude, you want your check? You know what I mean? Like, you might not have a job, next year if I don't like what I see on the tape of you, not hustling or doing something in game 17. Or you might have a job because of that. So that's how they kind of combat it. And sometimes it works when you go for it. Shout out Lovie Smith and the Houston Texans. Because they ended up with C.J. Stroud when they were trying to win the game. And everybody told them they were ignorant for doing it. And then they got their quarterback of the future, which means we got our quarterback of the future as well. So shout out to them for that. So it works that kind of way. But I've heard complaints from every sport. Like, that's the beauty of doing what we do here at CHGO and PHOY and all over, is I really get the insight from all these guys. So even talking to the Blackhawks guys, like, they will tell you the problems with the draft. And football will tell you, and baseball will tell you. Cody will tell you problems without even asking. He's going to tell you the problems, what's going on with it, man. So we can tell you these issues in basketball, and there are plenty of them. Like you just mentioned, Will, Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger, shooting all those threes. But I agree with what he said. Like, the fundamental tenet of their current draft system is pretty solid. and they've had more success than they've had misses. And that's really all you can do. Are you over, for me, it's over 60%. Are you successful over 60%, even 70%? And yes, you are. It's that 30%, it seems glaring because, man, it's like sometimes it can be really, truly glaring watching what these teams are doing, watching them get more creative, like we saw the Toronto Raptors playing dudes who should not ever play ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it in the fourth quarter while they're sitting guys. So teams are getting more creative to try to find ways, to lose. How do you combat those things? Those are the questions you ask. But in the end, the draft kind of works. It still kind of works. The worst team usually gets the best kind of player. And as you mentioned, what is it about the teams that are in the middle that might need that help as well, that are just kind of staying there? So those are the questions you have. But overall, I think it still works.
The other interesting thing about this article is that they kind of, Bontemps and Pelton, phrased it before they went into their possible solutions. They're like, let's try to answer the question of why. Why are so many teams tanking, and why is it something that's growing, even when as recently as the 2019 offseason, they made some rule changes to try to curb this tanking. And look, I want to deliver some of these excerpts in my cynical bash you over the head with logic voice that I tend to have when certain Bulls fans don't agree with me on this.
I've never heard that before.
I'm just going to read it as plain as fact and as factually as I can.
Plain Peck.
Because I think some Bulls fans still say, well, tanking doesn't work, and why tank? This is the answer provided by Bontemps and Kevin Pelton.
All right, hit the like.
Over the past 45 years, 5 title-winning NBA teams weren't led by a player who would win or had already won the NBA's most valuable player award. Last year's Celtics, who had Tatum and Brown, the 2019 Toronto Raptors, Kawhi, and the Detroit Pistons in 89, 90, and 2004. Isaiah Thomas, a lot of really good players. Among those remaining 40 teams, one of the following 14 players was a member on all of them: Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Dr. J, MJ, Hakeem, Shaq, Duncan, Kobe, KG, Dirk, LeBron, Steph, Giannis, Joker. 5 of those 14 players, Johnson, Olajuwon, O'Neal, Duncan, and James, were taken first overall. And only 4 of those 14, Kobe, Dirk, Giannis, and Joker, were picked outside the top 7. Even among those 5 outlier teams, only the Kawhi-led Raptors featured a player who was taken outside the top 3. The 2004 NBA Finals MVP was Chauncey Billups, selected 3rd overall in 97. The same spot that current Celtic stars Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were selected in 2016 and 2017, respectively. Meanwhile, Isaiah Thomas, the talisman of those 89 and 90 championship Pistons, was taken 2nd overall in 1981. Over the past 45 years, 5 NBA champions were led by a player taken outside the top 7 spots in the draft. That's why NBA teams tank, and this year is no exception. Do we get it yet? Do we get it yet? Do we get it yet? And look, I've heard every possible whataboutism example of a player or a team thrown my way over the last 3 years where I've been saying this team is mid. Let's not be mid. Let's try to go down. So hopefully we find a franchise player to go up. But those names are those names, y'all. Those names are those names. And look, I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit today too. You could say, well, what about this? Kobe was a 7th overall pick. Josh Giddey was a 6th overall pick. Are you saying that they don't fall into some of the criteria that they just laid out of why teams tank and why you need a top 7 pick, ideally a top 3 pick? My point is, okay, sure, yes, they were those picks. Do you, as a Bulls fan, believe that someday Kobe White and or Josh Giddey could be mentioned as a name alongside those names I just read? Because I'm sitting here as a realist Bulls fan saying, hell no. And if you think differently and have a higher ceiling opinion of what either of those players can be, Kobe or Josh, great. That is your right to hold that opinion as a Bulls fan. I'm choosing to stay here in reality.
I think even when you think about like these
Listen
guys,
to those names.
even when you think about like those guys becoming that star player and like with the way they're playing now, I mean, who knows? But like, think about Jimmy Butler, right? 30th overall pick, late bloomer in the NBA. He was an all-star by year 4. Kobe is in year 6 right now. Okay. So it's like, even for a guy who beat all the odds and became an all-NBA player, one of the best players in the league, later on than normal. It was by his 4th year. And like, we still haven't seen that from Coby, and Giddey's in his 4th year now. So I do think that like the odds of them turning into the star player that the Bulls need in order to have one of the best records in the league or become an NBA champion, it's just unlikely. It just is. And that would be true if you were trying to do it in the draft too. But the idea of like, no, you shouldn't continue looking for a star player in the draft because you feel like you've got these two guys. I just think the odds are so far against that you have to be open to other ways. And they're not doing it in the draft this year. And that's why like going into some of these different proposals for how to fix tanking or like, you know, not harm teams for being stuck in the middle, because I think it's not inherently wrong to be a middle team, right? It's wrong because in the system that they're in, you're not rewarded for that. So maybe there's a system that rewards teams for making it to the middle instead of, you know, de-incentivizing that. But that would be a fundamental change in the way that the draft works, and not these teams like were ethically building, and so they should get rewarded. That would be a change in the rules.
And I've seen Bulls fans talking about that a lot recently. Like, yo, they should be rewarded, not punished or penalized for the fact that they are down the stretch of this season going out there, competing hard and winning games, as opposed to Toronto, Utah, all these teams who are like, let's see what tanking sleeve card we can pull out of our sleeve tonight. And so a couple of those kinds of ideas were proposed by Bontemps and Pelton in this article, Big Dave. Among them, count wins instead of losses after the All-Star break when determining draft lottery order, or have lottery odds determined by how those teams fare against each other over the course of that season.
That's interesting.
So like teams that are lottery bound, you organize that lottery from first to last based on head-to-head record against the group of lottery teams. Because if that were the case, Bulls are picking top 3 pretty sure. Like they're beating up these tanking teams.
I think the league is saying your reward is the win.
Ugh.
That's what they're saying in this situation. Like, you want to be rewarded. You're being rewarded by actually winning games, by actual revenue that's coming in because you're winning games. That's the reward the NBA is saying that you're getting from these teams that are playing well, you know, after the break and stuff like that. The draft is set up for teams who aren't good. It is, to make it even plainer, it's set up for teams that are losing. It's not set up for winners. And it's set up for guys who are struggling like that. Now, sometimes there are good teams that can, you know, fall ass backwards into it. We saw Golden State do it, you know, because they had a tough season. We saw the Spurs do it because they had a season of just a bad season of injuries and things like that. But overall, that's what the lottery is for. Those teams that are struggling and losing, here's some help right here. Oh, you're winning all the time. Oh, you're starting to play better because the guys on your team are starting to play better, and you want to reward because of that? NBA is not going to do that. And my final point on this is you were talking beautifully and eloquently about stars and star players.
I was just reading the words that Bontemps and Pelton wrote.
Even your points you were making on top of that were on point. Because here's the thing. You can't be satisfied with simply what you have, is the bottom line. If you feel that these guys are stars, and I'm talking about Giddey, Coby, even Modest and all that, because I definitely feel Modest can be a star. I definitely feel Coby can be a star. Giddey is showing you maybe he can be a star. You need more. Go get more stars. This takes me back to the Lakers back in the day. Mm-hmm. When the Lakers had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they didn't say, we cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got it right here. No, they went and got Magic Johnson, who Matt just mentioned is one of those 14, 15 players. Even after they get Magic Johnson and they win a title.
Let me get some James Worthy up in here.
Let me get a little bit of that Worthy up in here too. How about that? Let me get some of that right there. And let's keep winning and keep dominating and keep going forward. That's what it's about. It's not about having that one star and stopping. It's about having multiple stars. When the Bulls won 72, it's because they went and got multiple. They had a multiple star team. Mm-hmm. Dennis Rodman is a star. Mm-hmm. Scottie Pippen is a star. Like
defensive team. All defensive first team.
Star. You know what I mean? Like, these are stars. And we knew Coby, we knew Scottie was there already. I'm just talking about when they won 72.
Right.
And to say we're the best team ever. Stars. You need them, guys. You have to have them on your team. The draft is a great way to get it. And you should just not simply be satisfied and comfortable with where you're at. Go for more, strive for more, get better.
Well, I think the frustration that people have is that it's coming at the expense of games like these last 10 that the Bulls have played, where you either have to choose between trying and being competitive or intentionally losing and throwing away your season. And this idea that you can't build a winning culture if you're trying to lose games. I don't know. I think there's some merit to that. Like I read the quote from Coby a couple of days ago. Like that actually did convince me a little bit about like the merit in that. At the end of the day though, like you can have a winning culture, but if you don't have winning players, meaning high level winning, good elite players in this league, it doesn't matter if you have a winning culture, you're not going to win games. And that's the trap that the Bulls have been in. And so to me, it's like, yes, you want to reward the bad teams at the bottom by giving them players so that they can then move to the top. But it's like your only concern is getting to the top and, you know, funding the teams at the bottom. There's no support for the teams in the middle.
Right.
And so if you are doing this thing where you're like too proud to lose, yeah, okay, that maybe that counts for something, but like you're still going to be stuck at the middle at the end of the day. And to me, there's no reason to have integrity of we're in the middle every year. I don't think anybody wants that. I think it's more just that they're unwilling to do what is necessary. So to me, it's like find a way to incentivize teams to build the way the Bulls are, which obviously would benefit the Bulls. And I'm sitting here, I'm talking about the Bulls every day. I'm obviously biased.
Shout out.
But like that would change the way that teams approach the season. If there isn't a penalty for being stuck in the middle every year, teams would be more willing to build through the middle. And if it was useful or successful or possible, more teams would do that. And then you would have more competitive balance throughout the season. There's always going to be bad teams at the end of the year.
Yes.
These games do not matter, right? They're not making the playoffs anyway. You're risking injury. Like the Raptors playing Scotty Barnes 36 minutes a night is not good for them. They should be doing it because like they should be playing their guys, but it's not good for them to put him at risk of injury. So how do you deal with the middle teams while also understanding the bad teams are going to be bad and you need to help them, but you shouldn't just like penalize the middle teams for building that way either?
I say this is more of an Eastern Conference issue than a Western Conference issue. In the East, everything you're saying, Will, I think, yes, lines up. In the West, the teams, the reason they're in the middle is because they have their stars already and they're just trying to win and it just hasn't worked out.
And that's the thing about the draft is like at the end of the day, you do need star players to win. And in basketball, it's like, it's not the NFL draft where you can get like a franchise quarterback on accident in the third round or like a running back in the third.
Tom Brady.
It doesn't work like that in the NBA. There's only 5 players on the court.
Yeah.
Those 5 players have way more of an impact on the outcome of games. There's 54 players on an NFL roster. Like you could draft a cornerback that is the best in the league at his position in the second round.
Yeah.
And that would be great. But like that doesn't work that way in the NBA. And so I do think it's a hard balance to get, but it's like, even if and it never works this way, but like, even if it was the best player in the draft is drafted number 1, the second best player in the draft is drafted number 2, third best, and so on. If you're picking 14th every year, you're just going to have a team of average players. And then you have no chance of getting good anyway. So to me, it's like, there's not like a competitive balance issue or incentives issue. This is the structure of the lottery as it is right now is good for some of the teams at the bottom, but obviously there are byproducts of that where you're having this like tanking epidemic, but it completely ignores all the teams between 6 and 22 in the league that are not real contenders, but are also not bad enough to really go anywhere.
Jim in the comments said, how have the last 10 years first pick in the draft work out for those teams? I hear this argument or this what about all the time. Going back 10 years, Karl Anthony Towns, first ballot Hall of Famer on a playoff-bound Knicks team. Ben Simmons, all-NBA caliber player. Career gets screwed up by back injury and maybe a little bit of the head yips. It happens, but all-NBA player. Fultz, okay, you could probably call that a bust of a number 1 pick.
Also an injury too, though.
DeAndre Ayton should not have been taken number 1 over a couple other guys in the draft, 2 and 3, and guess what? Those are first ballot Hall of Famers. DeAndre Ayton still was the starting center of a team that what? Oh, that's right, went to the NBA Finals. Zion Williamson is Zion Williamson. Anthony Edwards is Anthony Edwards. Cade Cunningham, Paolo. How would you feel if you were a Detroit Pistons or an Orlando Magic fan right now?
Pretty good.
A little bit better than being a Bulls fan right now, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, and then what was that? What was after that? Oh, yeah, Wemby. Gee, which one of those players don't I want? You kidding me? What is this argument? Okay, real quick, we are almost out of time, but I've seen a lot about it in the comments. They talked about it also in the column as one of the suggested ideas. Flattening the lottery odds out even more, or literally just like flat odds across the entire 1 through 14. How do we feel about that?
I think there's problems with that too. There's going to be byproducts with all of these, but flattening them all together, I think you're just going to have more aggressive tanking towards the bottom, and it really doesn't change anything for the middle teams. Now they have zero chance to improve their odds in the draft, and so there's not really like it's almost like meaningless to them. It's like the same as making the playoffs, but you're just not. And so like, yeah, I think that probably makes it a little less egregious throughout the course of the season for like the 6th or 7th worst teams in the league. But I don't know that really solves the real issues at play here. I think there's a couple of ones that like I've come across in the past. There's one that I read about like a year ago. The Professional Women's Hockey League is doing something really interesting where basically there's a point system where after you're eliminated from the playoffs, you start accumulating points with wins or ties. Mm-hmm. And the team with the most points at the end of the year has the best odds in the lottery. And so that incentivizes winning from those bottom teams after they've already been eliminated. Yeah. It doesn't work the same in the NBA because like only 2 teams are eliminated right now. There's not enough time to accumulate.
Yeah.
But then there's byproducts with that too. Like this is a star-driven league, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants stars on their team. And it's also a transaction league.
Yeah.
Right. And so if there's incentive for these teams at the bottom to now win games, they're not going to be trading away good players for draft picks. And so like you're also tinkering with the NBA economy when you change that stuff too, because there's buyers and sellers, right? And the bad teams are sellers, the good teams are buyers. If you make the bad teams buyers, now everybody's a buyer. There's no sellers, there's no trades, and transactions are what make this league great. So I don't think that there's an easy fix to any of this, but I do think that it's worth trying to figure out because right now what we're seeing is not working for anyone.
You're never satisfied, Will?
Never satisfied.
Yeah, so just 2 teams per conference as of now who have already been eliminated from play-in and thus playoff contention. That would be Washington and Charlotte in the East at 15 and 18 wins, respectively. Utah and New Orleans in the West at 16 and 20 wins. Bulls got 32 wins, y'all.
Shout out.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody.
Guys, huge breaking news.
Oh, yeah?
In a different major American sport while we've been talking. Russell Wilson is going to the New York Football Giants.
What?
Woo! Okay. Oh, that franchise can't get anything right.
Wait, didn't they just sign Jameis Winston?
Did they?
I could have sworn they just signed Jameis Winston.
Did, yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. Well, so now you got a training camp QB competition.
All right. Well, that means they'll probably go after Shedeur Sanders then.
Oh, man.
This could be, if
that sounds fun. Bears fans know that all too well. If you got 2 QBs, you got no QBs.
Not our problem anymore.
Oh, if you ever start to feel down in the dumps about being a Bulls fan, just think about being a New York Football Giants fan.
Ooh, they can have that. Bears. CHGO Bears.
Oh, man.
Bears.
We are going to wrap things up in a minute here. Just one more reminder before we go. Yeah. That we are going to go hang out at Hooters. Woo! The downtown Chicago location on 660 North Wells Street. Ow! For the Bulls showdown with OKC, the number 1 overall seed in the NBA. As things stand today, it is a 7 p.m. Central Time tip. We will do an hour-long extended live pregame starting at 6 p.m. from Hooters. Come hang out with us there. Yep. Watch pregame, interact with us pregame. We might even do a little Q&A session.
Maybe.
And then we'll eat some delicious wings, drink some delicious drinks.
Shrimp for me.
All very affordable. Great deals available.
Yeah.
Dave's going to eat some shrimp.
I am.
That's what he does. And then we'll watch some Bulls action together. It'll be a good time. Don't need to get a ticket. Free entry. Just show up. Come hang out with us. Sarah Bear's going.
Sarah Bear.
All the cool young people are going.
They are. If Sarah Bear's going, then all the cool young people.
And I will be there rolling my eyes saying, who are all these cool young people?
Why are they here? Go back to your homes.
Go back to your shanties.
Go back to your peeps.
Oh, thank you, everybody, for tuning in again today. Appreciate it. Thanks for the Super Chat, Zeke. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done it yet. And one more reminder, if you haven't watched it, we did a great interview with the one and only Tim McMahon of ESPN NBA yesterday. You can find that interview in its entirety just by scrolling a few videos down under that CHGO Bulls subheading of the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We will be back tomorrow for another live pod. The Bulls remain off, but we will be here for more Bulls talking at 5:30 Central Time. Until then, Will the Goat Gottlieb is at Will_Gottlieb. Read his stuff, allchgo.com. BigDave.com. Sarah put a link to his latest in the comments earlier. Become a diehard so you can read all of it. Big Dave is a Bow, BWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Shout out to the one and only
Me.
Sarahest of the Bears.
Sarah Bear.
Sarah Bear.
She and Katie are both the one and only queen of the controls.
Mm-hmm.
When they are here producing our show.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Sarah, it was lovely to hang out with you. It's been forever.
It's always lovely.
I miss her.
Truly. Katie, I hope you're not watching. I hope you enjoyed your day off.
She's watching.
We will be here at 5:30 Central Time tomorrow, y'all. Have a great Tuesday night. See Red be good.
Love y'all. Peace.
Miami's back in Jimmy.
Oh.